Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Naruto get merged with Ben with all aliens and Harem Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the QB16 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. A youth of Caucasian descent with short brown hair and fairly athletic build was sitting on the park bench. He was looking at a picture in his hand of a beautiful young redhead. One of the first things that stood out about her was her fiery orange hair. It was short in length, to about her upper back, with a single bang protruding on the left side of her face. She had sparkly light green eyes that were captivating. She also wore a shirt that was a mixture of dark blue around the sleeves and shoulders and light blue covering the rest of her torso, and sizable. Her stomach was well defined from taking karate, attached to a pair of wide and curvy hips. Hips showed off by her almost skin-white pants. Puberty definitely hit head-on when it came to his girl. Earlier that day he had already packed and placed his things in the rust bucket, the nickname for Grandpa Max's RV. He was tall and surprisingly fit for his age. The man was in his 60s, the most obvious sign being his gray hair, though some would credit this to his service as a plumber. Unlike in the traditional sense, the plumbers he worked for was a special corps of planetary protectors against hostile aliens. Of course, there was more than just fighters, as the organization also contained scientists, weapon makers, and individuals skilled in other fields that would be used to ensure the safety of the planet. He heard from his aunt and uncle that Gwen was in the town taking care of some business, so he decided to go and pick her up from there, since he volunteered to pick her up in the first place. After checking a few places, he finally cornered her in a bookstore. "How's my cousin Gwennikins doing?" he asked with a grin. He could feel her annoyance, her frown from behind the book she was reading. "Buzz off, I have better things to do than babysit you, dork." When they were younger they didn't get along like kids would at that age. It was like a love-hate relationship between the siblings. But with age came maturity and differences were worked out. "Don't be that way, Gwennikins. You know you miss me," he teased her with a teasing grin. It was funny, as either meaning could have been worked to piss her off. "You're annoying." "Have I ever told you that, Ben?" she asked, flipping a page. "Yeah, just about every other time we see each other." "Come on, what's with the whole love-hate thing? I thought we moved past that. What happened to being good friends?" Gwen scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Yet you insist on taking every chance to take a dig at me. Albeit we're no longer at each other's throats when we were younger doesn't mean I necessarily like you initially any more than I used to. We're just family, and just because I have to love you doesn't mean I have to like you." Ben could hear her trying to hold back a laugh. He was able to envy the sudden change in her breathing pattern. It amazed him how many things it was possible to tell with proper training. "Oh, Gwennikins loves me. Anyway, got yourself a boyfriend yet?" "None of your business," she snapped, feeling herself becoming rather annoyed at the fact Ben was prodding. "I take that as a no. Me guess was on the first day you sought out the biggest and meanest one, and kicked his ass to scare all the stragglers away, huh?" "You know what?" Gwen slammed her book close. "I'm not talking to you anymore," she said as she hemped and went to pay for her books. Over 10 minutes had passed, and the fiery red, or was it orange-haired girl continued the silent treatment. "So," he tried to start a conversation, but nothing seemed to work. Gwen remained silent despite Ben's attempts to get her to talk. "Come on, Gwen, you know I was just teasing, you know, like I always do," he said, trying to get her to speak. "I know, doesn't mean you have to be such a pain, thought," she murmured softly in response to his teasing. She folded her arms. Ben opened his mouth to make a comment when Gwen shot him a look that promised much pain if he continued, so he promptly closed it. "I'm hungry, let's get something to eat," he suggested as Gwen agreed. If Ben was going to pay for it, she might as well take him up on the offer. The place he suggested was nearby, so they walked there, remaining silent. Ben silently sobbed as he felt his wallet become lighter. In order to earn Gwen's forgiveness, he offered to treat her to anything she wanted on him. She happened to pick a nice restaurant, of course. He ordered the steak meal, with salad, potatoes, corn, and Pepsi. "So mean." "Yes, she is," he whispered to his formerly fat, but now skinny wallet. He ordered burger and fries with Sprite as a drink. They talked about things, normal things like school and stuff. While they were eating, a couple guys from across the room were eyeing Gwen and they came over. They looked to be the typical type of punks, maybe part of a low-brow gang since their style consisted of mismatched clothes, in poor condition and black leather jackets. The only decent thing on them if you counted in the piercings and messed up hairstyles, mostly mohawks. The leader was apparent because he was the tallest, 6 feet 3 inches with orange hair and 4 nose piercings. "Hey there, cutie, why don't you ditch the loser? I'll show you what it's like to be with real man," he said with a self-assured smirk. He radiated cocky and aggressive and was definitely not the sort of guy Gwen would be into. "You're calling me a loser? You look dirt poor, your grammar is... I don't even have to get started, and to be honest it looks like all the rejects from different gangs band together to form their own gang, albeit very badly." Gwen giggled at what Ben said and looked at the guy and looked him in the eye. "Buzz off, asshole. A real man in my opinion wouldn't look poor, would be educated, and fairly attractive. Now can you go away? I'm trying to enjoy my food and looking at you is making it hard to keep it down." The guys behind the leader began making comments, chiding their leader. "Damn, she told you, you going to let her talk to you like that?" The leader became enraged at the comments as his first flushed in anger. "You little bitch. No one talks to me like that. I'll..." He never got to finish as a fist connected with his jaw with a sickening crunch. His body flew through the air and landed on the ground with an audible thump and crack. Ben hopped out of his seat and walked over to the groaning thug. "No one. And I mean no one talks to my Gwen like that. You got it, you piece of shit." Ben's anger boiled as his non-vacant hand twitched slightly, his eyes flashing to cerulean blue briefly, then a moment later crimson red. The thug nodded furiously as he began to sweat. Ben dropped the thug and snarled at the other members who fled like the cowards they were. Gwen was amazed at what happened. She had never seen Ben so angry. Okay, maybe she had, but never over her. She rubbed her wrist where the thug grabbed her, and was amazed how far Ben sent him with that punch. She also started to blush when she remembered the words "my Gwen" and wondered what he meant. Surely he meant his cousins, that's it. She concluded that was what he meant. "You okay?" she heard him ask. In response she nodded. She dismissed what she heard and decided to finish her meal and not put too much thought into it. A few days had passed and things were uneventful. It was quiet, serene at the campsite. Ben fought back a chuckle as Gwen looked pale at what Grandpa Max was making. He felt sorry for the girl who did not share his taste. What looked like a shooting star soared overhead and landed somewhere in the forest. "I want to check something out. I'll be right back," Ben announced as he threw on a jacket and went in the direction of the shooting star as Gwen called out to him. "Ben, wait. It could be dangerous." "I'll be fine," he shouted back, not waiting for any other declarations to stop him. He traveled through the forest following the smoke and the smell of some sort of metal. He came to a crater and walked down as he noticed a glowing green light. The first thing that came to mind was radiation, but the atmosphere would be toxic in some manner. He got closer to the wreckage and saw it was some sort of pod. The pod opened and a watch-like device appeared. No way could this be? Ben had heard rumors of some kind of watch-like device on his way here. A weapon that allowed the user to assume the form of numerous alien-like forms. So why on earth did it crash here? Suddenly the thing latched onto his heart. No matter the amount of force Ben used, it wouldn't budge. Shit! After another minute of trying he relented and climbed out of the crater where Gwen was waiting for him. "Ben, why did you what is with that watch? You didn't have it before." "The wreckage contains some sort of pod. The blasted thing latched on me. No matter how hard I try I can't get it off." "Have you tried activating it?" "Let's see, hopefully I don't blow off my own ass or something," Ben murmured as he tried activating the dial. He turned it, and then the face popped up. The silhouette of something humanoid appeared and he pressed down on it. Gwen shielded her eyes and stepped back as a bright green light enveloped the area. The light died down to reveal a humanoid being, much taller than Ben and made out of fire. He was a mixture of orangish yellow with patches of red all over his skin, saved for his face that was like a candle flame. "Ben! You're on fire!" Gwen shouted in disbelief. Ben smirked, or what could be considered a smirk, and said, "Finding me hot all of a sudden, cousin?" He teased as Gwen frowned and told him, "Get over yourself, hothead." She paused for a moment and asked, "Aren't you?" She paused, trying to find the right word. "Hot? No, I feel different. but not in the way you were expecting. Let's go find Grandpa. Maybe he'll know something, she suggested, even though in her mind this wasn't an occurrence that normal, or most people could even conceive. Ben nodded at Gwen's suggestion, despite the irony of it. It took all but 3 minutes to explain what happened when they got to the campsite. And this is the result? Max finishes as the two teens nodded. Max sighed as he tried to figure something else. After 5 more minutes passed, Ben decided to try something else. In another flash of light he transformed in some sort of beast. Vaguely canine-looking with features between a lion and gorilla hybrid. Not to mention gills on his neck which seemed to give him radar-like sight due to the fact this form didn't have eyes. Ben, the Vulpamencer turned to the voice as its tail moved about slightly. You shouldn't screw around with the watch. What if you turn into something dangerous? The Vulpamencer started to sniff Gwen. Hey, you, what are you? I've been waiting for a long time to speak with you. You have a good heart, kid. You remind me of myself a bit. I've longed for a successor. I shall partially awaken the master control. Use the power of the 10 representatives well. It is up to you to master the full power of the Omnitrix. The Vulpamencer disappeared as in its place stood Ben. Well, that was a rush. Benyori, you, what happened? I don't know. I think the Omnitrix spoke to me. Omnitrix? Max questioned as he walked up. It was already decided that they'd pack things up and get ready for a trip early tomorrow morning. Yeah. My mind was filled with this rush of information. A device like this cannot fall into the wrong hands. From what the voice told me, I can use at least 10 of these alien forms. Aliens? A transforming watch? This whole thing is crazy. Why are you two so calm about this? Ben and Max shared a look. Should we tell her, Gramps? I mean, she is old enough. It'll be a lot easier if we didn't have to hide things. Tell me what? What's going on? Max took a deep breath and gestured Gwen to sit down in one of the lawn chairs they'd brought for the trip. To begin, when I said I used to be a plumber, I didn't mean your garden variety Mr. Fix-It of sinks and plumbing. I was a member of an organization of the same name, a law enforcement officer that deals with extraterrestrial activity. Originally the plumbers were a debunked government agency, but in recent years, because of all the alien activity and advancement, which included extraterrestrial recruitment, the agencies of similar names and goals combined and formed an intergalactic police force that deals with the affairs of all life. Gwen was massaging her knees, trying to take in all that she heard. It was insane, but yet seeing her cousin stuck with some kind of device that turned him into 2 of possibly 10 creatures no more than moments ago made it hard to argue against. It was then Ben spoke up. I happen to know because I had a run-in with an alien life a few years ago. So Area 51 and all those space saucer sightings? The redhead voiced. Not quite all of them were real, but more some than others. A girl smart like you should know plenty about politics. How things are often covered up by the government, especially incidents that would make them look bad. While this was going on up in a space, a ship that was fresh out of battle was undergoing repairs. In a rejuvenation tank was a bluish-green squid-like alien who was worse for wear. 3 of his limbs were practically gone, with only a small portion of his right arm intact. While he was being healed by tiny machines, a subordinate was informing him of something. Sir, during our battle with the Uxorite Xylene, when our bridge was damaged, many of our systems along with our systems were damaged. It will take weeks before our ship will be fixed, My Excellency, though our trackers have indicated a transmission from the Omnitrix. It has been active for about 3 hours, My Excellency. Send the drones to those coordinates, and retrieve it now. And Ben, He was awakened from his stupor by Gwen's voice. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. About what happened at the restaurant. Ben's body jerked as he gaze went to the trees. Ben, what's raw? Ben tackled Gwen to the ground as a laser beam shot right over them. Gwen, stay down, Ben told her as he got up and activated the Omnitrix. A large orange machine with 4 metallic legs ripped the trees out of its path. From its head emerged some kind of scanner as it locked onto Ben. Target located. Destroy life form and acquire object. Its cold metallic voice stated. Time to turn up the heat then, ugly. Ben slammed his hand down onto the watch. Instead of turning into a humanoid form of fire, Ben found himself turned into some sort of creature made out of a green diamond-like substance. Well, sure, before he could finish his swear, he was blasted by the red beam by the metallic creature, sending him crashing towards several trees. Ben! Gwen shouted out to him, first thought on her mind going to her fallen cousin when she was held back by Mac's grandpa. What are you doing? Ben, he'll be. Gwen! Calm down. He'll be fine. We need to worry about getting any nearby citizens out of here or they'll be caught in the fight. Ben stood up and shook off the attack, hardly fazed. He said as he held up his hand, Use your crystals like projectiles. Ben's eyes widened slightly at this. Was that the voice from the watch again? Either way, he decided to listen to its advice. The machine continued moving at him with its spider-like legs. From who of the hatch's saws were produce and revved up. The diamond creature's hands shifted into spiky crystals and were fired at the machine. The crystals made scratches, but the dents were hardly enough to slow down the machine as it steadily advanced. Fine. Close range it is. Focusing again, the crystals shifted into one large blade. Ben charged forward and thrust his arm forward as the saws connected with it. Sparks started to fly about as the saws began to ground at the tough diamond-like subject until its edges started to dent and fly apart. Picking up one of the saw blades, Naruto stabbed into the creature's arm. He was able to pierce the hull. He was knocked back by one of the creature's leg and landed on the ground on his side with a thud. Damn it! This is going to be tougher than I thought. Getting up again, he charged again, paying extra care to not be caught off guard by the creature's legs. He attacked the hole again, making the piercing in the machine even larger. Taking careful aim, he shot several crystals into the machine, hoping to damage its circuits. As luck would have it, the foreign material in the machine caused its systems to work triple time trying to run despite the cloggage. The machine began to overheat and exploded. Well, at least that takes care of. He didn't even get to finish as he was blasted by a laser and driven into the dirt. He turned around and came face to face with another one of those machines. You guys are pests. I shall partially awaken the master control. Use the power of the 10 representatives well. It is up to you to master the full power of the Omnitrix. Remembering the voice from before, he decided it couldn't hurt to see what else he could become. He changed this time into some sort of wraith-like creature. This transformation felt different, as if more malignant or dark. Maybe it was just after effect of so many changes. Phasing into the machine, he ripped it apart inside out as he phased some of its opponent's clears right out of it. The machine fell to the ground in a wreckage with ease. It was then the Omnitrix started beeping. He made a mad dash or glide to the forest so no civilian would catch sight of the detransformation. Out of the green light came an exhausted Ben. Lord Vilgax, after 30 minutes the Omnitrix has timed out. Both of the drones have been terminated. Should I send a collector to salvage the box so we can extract information from the combat? Do so immediately. Whoever this being is was able to partially unlock the Omnitrix's master control. I want you to use that new serum we acquired. Lord Vilgax, that serum is untested, it could. Do not question my command, drone. It is imperative my recovery is sped up before that being learns how to harness the Omnitrix and become an actual threat. The drone merely complied, not wanting to anger his master any further. The latest visit of this summer vacation was none other than the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Many monuments and other things pertaining to history were situated there. The White House, along with the Washington Monument, and other historical monuments. 6 days had passed since the incident at Camp Site. Every day Ben had been extensively practicing with each of the alien forms, learning their strengths and weaknesses, working on and timing the duration of which he could maintain each form. Though as expected there was always some sort of crime going on. Was it really necessary for you to change your form so many times? Gwen asked as Ben assumed his normal form. He had just finished stopping some bank robbers. Maybe XLR8 for speed to catch up, for arms to halt their vehicle, Diamond Head so they would use up all their bullets, and Savage, Wildmutt, just to scare them. I say that's a nice usage, wouldn't you? He asked as she gave him an acquiring. I thought nicknames would suit them. Definitely sounds like something you would come up with. Gwen countered with a shake of her head. Something tells me that wasn't exactly a compliment, Ben dryly remarked. Anyway, I don't know about you, Gwen, but I'm getting kinda hungry, he said as the door of the rust bucket opened. Just in time. I am planning on making sushi tonight, Max happily announced. Eel and octopus surprise, right? Ben dryly asked. I think I'd rather go with a salad tonight, Gwen said, not wanting to hurt Max's feelings, but not wanting to have to go to the hospital to get her stomach pumped all the same. Come on, just try it. It's not going to kill you to broaden your tastes. Well, some of us have normal appetites and aren't bottomless pits, Gwen said, gesturing at Ben. In the outskirts of the city, in a makeshift lab under a warehouse, an open space was filled with numerous caged animals, all screeching and roaring as they fought to escape their confines. An older gentleman type with long white hair was working on a helmet. This man with lime green skin was wearing a black undershirt and pants. He had weeks ago been kicked out of his apartment because he was unable to pay his rent. Said rent he was putting into his research. He moved over to one of the cages containing a frog. He set it on the ground and turned a dial on his helmet as a beam hit the frog. The creature started to grow several times its size. The creature also grew extra eyes and horns. Ah yes, the transmodulator is complete. Now to test run my DNA rearranger/reanimator. He mumbled to himself. One of the things he had taken with him from the apartment was a TV. A commercial flickered to life that drew the golden-eyed man's attention. Get all of your electronic supplies, and whatever other needs, at the Mega Mart. We have low prices on everything today. Well, that's convenient. Just what the doctor ordered. The next day at the Mega Mart there was an assortment of all sorts of things. Video games, electronics, furniture, food, and just about everything at low prices. In other words, at Dimensions Walmart. Ben was currently examining a single-lens reflex camera. The camera was quite sophisticated with full manual control of exposure and focus. Not to mention it accepted interchangeable lens, he thought with a mischievous grin. Suddenly a large boom came from the direction of the electronics store. From the side of the wall emerged Animo on top of his giant mutated frog. The clerk of the countering, who was cowering for some strange reason, asked who he was. I am the world-famous geneticist Dr. Animo, he proclaimed pompously. Benoit Gwen had run up to Omnitrix bearer hearing the disturbance. What in the world? She cried out in shock. No time to explain. Go get Aji, I mean Grandpa, and tell him we have a situation. You two get the civilians to safety while I take care of this freak, Ben declared as he activated the Omnitrix and took on the form of Diamond Head. Just be careful, okay? Gwen told Ben, feeling uneasy about the situation. Aren't I always? He responded with what Gwen assumed was a smirk. Do you really want me to answer that? She deadpanned as Diamond Head took off. The mutated frog continued to leap around as it crushed carts and anything else in its path. People were screaming and running in all directions and children were crying. There was a mass hysteria. Run! Oh my God, what is that thing? Dude, we got to put this on YouTube. One dumbass teen said, taking out his camera phone and tried and film only for one of the mutated feet of the creature striking him and sending him flying through a glass window. The frog leapt into the mall's sizable fountain to suck up some moisture, much to the scowling scientist's dismay. Blasted amphibian. Maybe I should have gone with a mammal instead. Yo, frog freak. We could do this the easy way or the hard way. Either way, it looks like I'm having frog legs tonight. Who dares insult the Animo? Stopped in mid-rant, taking in the sight of the Diamond Head. A diamond humanoid? My word? What sort of manner of experiment could bore such a being? One you won't get to find out. Diamond Head declared, shifting one of its arms into a crystal and firing shards. The frog jumped out the way. It attempted to latch onto the diamond humanoid only to have its tongue slashed by a sharpened crystal blade. While Diamond Head was dealing with the mutation, Animo took the opportunity to sneak off to the electronic section, browsing through the devices of the selection until he came across a dial. Using tools from his belt set, he added to his helmet. At last, with this dial I can reanimate creatures that have long since become extinct. Meanwhile, Ben decided to change tactics. With a switch he went from the Petrosapien to the Pyronite. Using a series of EAT blasts, he quickly dried up the moisture of the fountain and bombarded the mutant creature until it began to retreat. There's no telling who could be harmed if I let that thing go. I have no choice. Tapping the Omnitrix symbol, he tried to exert the need of a necessary alien to stop this creature to the Omnitrix through his will. In a flash of green light he transformed into his darkest alien yet. A shadowy ghost-like being with grey cloth-like skin, though that was only in appearance. In the middle of his face was a black iris with orange sclera. Ben felt a certain rush of coldness. A pale uneasiness. It was like there was a voice in the back of his head. It was just like before, shaking away the thoughts he chased after the creature. Charging into it, he phased right through the creature's body, shredding its insides before phasing out and becoming tangible. The creature in mid-hop had crashed to the ground as its body immediately shut down, following by death. First a daimonoid and now a wraith? That won't stop me. Nothing will stop me, the geneticist declared. My pets. Come to me, he commanded as two giant mutated snakes and parakeet appeared. Destroy them, he ordered the snakes as he made his escape with the parakeet. One snake was dark brown with light brown sides and dorsal blotches. Its belly was a cream color with black markings. When the ghost alien got closer, the creature coiled into a ball with its head and neck tucked away in the middle. Ben, the ball python isn't that dangerous. Watch out for the Illapidi, he heard Gwen shout from behind one of the pillars. Gwen! The alien creature exclaimed more menacingly when he attended to. What are you doing? Grandpa Max is still evacuating civilians and I was making a last round, she exclaimed as the ghost alien dodged another strike from the other snake. What were you saying before? That's an Illapidi. It's a highly venomous snake from the tropical and subtropical regions of the world. It has fangs that can inject venom located from the gland located towards the rear of the upper jaws. Right, I'd better finish this in one shot then. Shooting forward, the alien attempted another strike only for him to turn tangible. Shit, he thought as the creature reared its fangs. Ben, twisting at the last second, he was able to avoid the fangs and collided with the body, falling to the ground with an audible thud. He wasn't sure if the venom of the fangs could hurt him in its current form, but he was ready to find out. Ben hadn't spent any time training in this form because of the uneasiness it brought him. The creature used its body to encircle the ghost alien as it prepared to strike. Before it could, it was shot several times around its throat area by WPD. Scan the perimeter for civilians, one officer ordered over the bangs of the shot. An officer screamed when it was struck by the other more docile snake. Using the distraction, the ghost alien floated above the poisonous snake. Not wanting to take a chance his tangibility would wear off, he transformed once more back into Diamond Head as he shifted his arm into a lance, using the force of gravity to drop down and pierce the head of the creature. Slamming down upon the head, he caused an audible crack, causing some of the officers to fall over. As the other snake reared its mouth, Diamond Head took aim and fired several shards into its throat. The creature flailed about as the sharp diamond tore and sliced its throat. It fell to the ground as it slowly bled to death. Animo could have covered a lot of ground by now. Freeze! One of the officers exclaimed as they all pointed their guns at the Petrosapien. I'm not your enemy. You're looking for a man named Animo. Don't move! I don't know what you are, but you're coming with us. Look at me. I'm made of diamond, and if you shoot me there's a good chance those bullets would bounce off and hit you right back. So Diamond Head started to explain while he moved. Don't move. This is your last warning. There is no reasoning with most people. Several shots rang out, and true to Ben's words, the bullets bounced back and shot the officers who fired. Dumbass, he thought as the Omnitrix started to beep. Shit. Not now. Come on, Omnitrix. Don't fail me now. He changed once more into XLR8. Yes. Using the alien's speed, he scooped up Gwen and shot out of there. When he arrived outside at the rust bucket where Max was waiting, it was obvious that Animo was wreaking havoc by all the destruction and mayhem outside. A warning next time would be nice, Gwen said with a groan. Suddenly standing to going to over 100 miles per hour wasn't good on one's stomach. Any news? On a flash of green, Ben appeared. Animo? Ben finished as the Omnitrix went into recharge mode. There are a number of places where he could go. There's several genetic labs stationed in DC, not to mention there's a meeting of several scientists are coming together for the Lasker Awards, Gwen concluded. Lasker Award? How do you suppose it relates to Animo? Ben responded as Max began to explain. The Lasker Awards have been awarded annually since 1946 to living persons who have made major contributions to medical science, or who have performed public service on behalf of medicine. Hey Gwen, could you pull up something for me on your laptop? Normally Gwen would be hesitant because of the numerous pranks that Ben pulled in the past, such as him making her a fake Facebook account and such, but in this instance she assumed it was an emergency. Pull up the latest information you can on the Lasker Award. After going through several articles they found one that was promising. Dr. Kelly Falco is being honored for his discovery of the statins drugs with remarkable LDL cholesterol-lowering properties that have been revolutionized the prevention and treatment of coronary heart disease. Can you pull up more on this Dr. Kelly, and see if he has any connection with Animo? After skimming some more articles they found something promising. Dr. Kelly, former partner of Dr. Animo, was saddened of his longtime friend and partner's arrest some odd 25 years ago. The promising geneticist and scientist Animo was known for making several small breakthroughs in genetic and veterinarian scientists. This was cut short when an accident left the doctor with altered DNA and tinted green skin. He was arrested on the conspiracy of theft, skimming funds, illegal experimentation on animals and humans, along with other charges of attempted murder. Animo swore that he would show the world his brilliance one day by bringing back creatures of another time. Bringing back creatures of another time? Ben murmured to himself. That explained those strange creatures he was commanded. Think about it, Ben? The meeting of scientists, and attacking the mall. Gwen started thinking about the clues, which he did to get some dial, which means he's going to try and reanimate extinct creatures. And only one place comes to mind, Ben added to Gwen's statement. The Natural History Museum, Max concluded, and the Omnitrix is still on recharge. Ben murmured to himself. If it was activated he could have easily got there in no time. Hop in the rust bucket. We have to get to the museum and stop Animo before he animates any extinct creatures and harm anyone. The three piled into the rust bucket as Max took the keys out of his pocket and turned it on. They took off at nearly breakneck speed. The streets were relatively empty with the exception of some cops that were heading in the direction of the disturbance. It didn't take long for them to reach the museum. Luckily enough the Omnitrix had recharged. I'll become XLR8 and scan the lower floors, and Gwen and I will search for Animo on the upper floors. Ben nodded in response as he transformed and was gone in an instant. Gwen and Max went up a flight of stairs. Remember, Gwen, be careful and cautious. There's no telling how many creatures Animo could have animated in the time it took us to get here. I hear you, Grandpa, she said as she scanned the room. A squawk alerted them to the presence of the parakeet that was perched on a chandelier. Jolting from its perch it shot down, and attempted to swoop at the two Tennysons whom rolled out of the way. Catching sight of a bow staff, Gwen picked it up and skillfully twirled it around. Since age 7 she partook in martial arts, with her being a recently earned black belt. The parakeet gave another squawk as it flew around and came around for another strike. Using the staff, Gwen struck several points in its body, flustering the creature and causing it to retreat. Good going, Gwen, but we still need to find Animo. XLR8 stopped in its track when he spotted the green-skinned scientist. The game is over, Animo. You might as well give up, you won't win this fight. My shape-shifting friend, how are we doing tonight? He asked as he turned around. Unless you want to experience a beating at 300 miles per hour, I suggest you surrender. And why should I surrender? With this device I can not only change the DNA structure of animals, but it can also reanimate them. Animo spun and turned on the ray just as XLR8 shot forward and knocked it away. Damn it! If there was one thing that annoyed Ben about these forms was that even simple actions proved to take some time to get used to. It didn't help that he hadn't even partially mastered 10 out of who knew how many forms. And now I can finally reclaim my revenge. The animated mammoth began rampaging. All the speed in the world means nothing against something like that. Looks like I have to change tactics. Elsewhere Animo had set his sights on the next creature. A Tyrannosaurus Rex. So the shapeshifter's friends have arrived. You pests have stuck your nose where it doesn't belong, he declared, animating the beast. Before it could attack, the mammoth burst through the wall and collided with the beast. The Tetraman readied his forearms. I'll handle the two beasts. You seem cocky, shapeshifter. Let's see how cocky you are when I animate for beasts under my command. Twirling the staff some more and picking up momentum, Gwen sent the stick flying, causing it to smash against the transmodulator. Blasted girl! He cried out, picking up the device. T-Rex! Knock down that wall! He ordered as the creature in mid-rush changed his direction and knocked down a wall. The mammoth meanwhile continued his path only to be halted by 4 arms. The continued tried to crush the Tetraman, who used his strength to halt the creature. Eating up his muscles and arching his back, he hoisted the creature and slammed it down on the floor. He repeated the action a few more times until he's sure the beast wouldn't recover from his injuries. Ben! Animo is getting away, trust me, Grandpa. He won't this time, the Tetraman stated as he followed through the hole the T-Rex made. Building up a running start, he leaped and cleared a decent amount of feet, causing a small 5 feet wide and few inches deep crater. He continued, building up more speed each time as he followed the wave of destruction. When the Tetraman had caught up, people were screaming and fleeing from some building. Exiting a giant T-Rex-shaped hole, he spotted Animo and the T-Rex as they had a group of scientists and other people cornered. Kelly! You traitorous bastard! You framed me! You all threw me to the wolves, the madman raved. Animo, for God's sake, you were experimenting on fetuses. You threw yourself to the wolves, don't act innocent. You were the one who planted all that evidence on me. You all took everything away from me. My money, my achievements, my life. You took everything from me. And now I'll take your lives. The T-Rex gave a roar as it reared his teeth. The Tetraman dove forward and yanked its tail. The creature let out a roar of pain as Animo toppled over and fell to the ground with a sickening thud. Easing his grip, he spun around several times as he launched a creature through one of the large glass windows. The creature landed into one of the large artificially created body of waters. The Tetraman dove after the creature and swam over its emerging head. Using his lower left arm, he punched the creature in its left eye as he used the rust to dip into the creature's tough skin. Trying to shake him off and catch him in its teeth, the creature flailed about and slipped, causing it to submerge once again. I thought zombies hated water, Ben thought in annoyance as the clearly zombified creature with parts of its body exposed. Damn it! I don't think that phasing trick with the ghost is going to work. How the hell am I going to stop this creature? The Tetraman was flung off as the creature prepared to strike. Ben started fiddling with his watch. Danger levels rising, situation level moderate. Proper choice of action will be presented. A silhouette of an alien Ben never seen before appeared. It was a cross between a fish and iguana. Deciding that the situation couldn't get any worse, he transformed. The blue-skinned hybrid, like all his forms, was wearing his clothes tailored to fit his form. The blue-skinned hybrid was also fitted with 3 dorsal fins reaching down his back, and gills on the sides of his head. He also has small spikes around his face. Launching out of the water with the T-Rex right behind him, the new alien froze the body of water instantly. Just in time as that familiar beeping sound was occurring. Hurrying back to where the Animo was, the new alien launched an icy blast from his mouth, destroying the modulator. And of course the authorities showed up late when the situation was dealt with. Thankfully enough, the scientists and such took off, leaving no one to witness the detransformation. The rust bucket pulled in as well, but from the opposite side. Get in! Gwen exclaimed as Ben jumped through the open door. With that they began driving off before they could be stopped by the authorities. The boys in DC are going to have their hands full trying to explain all this. Elsewhere in a building not too far from there, another development was occurring. 2 men in black suits walked into a room carrying folders. Behind the desk was a man in their 60s wearing a crisp dark blue suit. The folder was placed on its desk with pictures of the battle at the mall and museum. Sir? One of the 2 men asked as the man behind the desk focused on the pictures. Contact Magister Xena and tell her we have a problem, the man said as he dismissed the 2 suits. The DC incident the Tennyson family took to the country. The next day of the vacation had led the group to a fishing pier. Out by the lake, Ben swam in the water under the moon's dark glow. Gwen walked out to the edge and called out to him. It's kind of late. You keep out here and you might catch a cold. It feels relatively nice though. You should join me. No thanks. I'd rather not be stuck all week with the flu, the redhead said as she turned and walked towards the rusket bucket. Suit yourself, Ben said as he began to backstroke. Some more time had passed and Ben started to grow bored. The water suddenly began to sway. A large tentacle sprouted up from the water and slammed down on him. Flipping right up after the force of the blow, Ben immediately began blowing air out of his nose as his eyes tried to adjust to the water. Suddenly a tentacle wrapped around him and dragged him further down until he was met face to face with massive beasts with dark blue eyes, large jaws. Opening his mouth, Ben sunk his teeth into the creature's limb, causing it to let go. Leaping out of the water, a heaving Ben took a few moments to relax. Even with the revelation he made about the sea monster, much couldn't be done that night anyway. Just an agreement that they would on their guard in case the creature attacked again. So he decided to just say screw it, and turned in. No point in trying to convince the sleepy and skeptical pair. As of the following day, the trio was on a fishing vessel of some kind. Ben licked his teeth to collect the grime and was about to spit it out when a sneeze came upon him. On instinct he tried to cover with his arm as some of the skin flakes went flying from his mouth onto the edge of the Omnitrix. The Omnitrix began to glow as the artificial intelligence spoke. 2 new DNA samples acquired. DNA count as rose to 1,902,000. Ben's jaw dropped. Over 1 million? Wait a minute, it took my DNA signature as well. Does that mean the Omnitrix can absorb any DNA? Ben decided that he would need to take some time to figure out more about the Omnitrix. The next day the trio headed to the pier, because Max chartered a boat from a guy called Shaw. You coming, Gwen? Ben asked as Gwen shook her head. I'm fine on the land. I'm just going to observe the wildlife on land or something. Suit yourself, Ben said as he and Ma got on the boat. The man running the boat was an older man, but comparably younger than Max, with sideburns and a red cap. Are you Captain Shaw? Yes, I am, sir. We're the Tennysons, and we chartered your boat for some fishing today. Very well. Let's go. The drive out on the lake was relatively quiet. Ben studied the surface, looking for bubbles or any sign of disturbance that would signify the creature was active. Meanwhile Max was fishing. You okay, boy? Just keeping an eye out for the monster of the lake, Ben commented as Max sighed. You met the Kraken and lived? The Kraken? I commend your bravery, boy. I'm proud to have you aboard my ship. Thanks. You've met it and lived too? I can take you to where I met her. Female, huh? What are the odds that it laid its eggs and someone attacked it, slashed them? I got a bite. Max suddenly exclaimed as he began reeling it in, catching a pretty decent sized fish, dropping it into the bucket. Max, you want to go out further? Okay. No problem. He pulled the lure out and laid back on one of the chairs. Be wise, lad. We could run into it at any given time. I know. But I'm ready for her this time, Ben said as he turned the dial and looked at each silhouette until he came across the desired one. So am I. He pulled out a harpoon gun. So am I, boy. More time had passed and the creature still hadn't shown up. Eventually the quiet was interrupted by a voice blaring over the megaphone. Leave this lake now. It is under the protection of the government for underwater studies. What gives? Captain Shaw asked in disdain. I am Jonah Melville, founder of Friends of Fish. This section of the lake is closed for environmental studies. You'll have to turn your boat around. Suppose you make me fish hugger, the captain grouched out. Ben went to the side, ignoring the rest of the dispute. It was things like this that was without a doubt odd. Not too long later the boat went on its way as Ben meditated. He looked over to Max, who had several buckets worth of his. He noted off at least 22 as an afterthought, and then decided he could probably smell out the creature. Suddenly a shadow appeared under the vessel as it began to shake. We found something, Shaw exclaimed as a large blip flared to life on his radar. Gotta go, he said, hanging up the phone. He jumped over and transformed, and to his surprise didn't transform into the blue speedster alien. Instead of using its speed to travel over the water, he transformed into some aquatic hybrid alien, part anglerfish, part eel, part leech, part alligator, and part shark. Its teeth were sharp, shark-like, and it had a mermaid-like tail with a phosphorescent light on its head. As the creature attacked, knocking people off nearby boats, Ben swam through the water as he grabbed 2 people by the time and swam them to the surface. Thankfully enough, its senses were vulpine/canine sensitivity, as people were screaming bloody murder upon seeing him. Once the waters were clear, his attention to the creature that was attacking Jonah's boat. Shooting forward with grand speed, he launched himself out of water. Tapping the Omnitrix symbol, he transformed into XLR8. Shooting across the boat, he used his claws and clawed the creature's nose. Using his speed, he evaded the creature's tentacles as it seemed adamant on going for one of the crates. Changing once more, Ben took the shape of Diamond Head and began firing crystals at the creature. Eventually the creature stopped its attempt to get at the crate and retreated back into the water. The boat, albeit damaged, stayed afloat. Who? That was a close one. You were right about the Kraken. What was about your supply that caused the creature to attack you so adamantly? Our lunch. A crewmate answered. Diamond Head's face formed a scowl. Was he supposed to really believe that? Before he could remark, the Omnitrix began to beep. Time was running out. Diamond Head dove into the water as a green flash echoed. Ben swam back to Shaw's boat and snuck back on. That night the trio was discussing what happened earlier that day. Oh, come on, we're not going to do anything? Ben asked in dismay as he leaned the blanket around him. There's not much we can do, Ben. The government is investigating the attacks and the area has been sanctioned. Without government clearance we can't get involved. What about a plumber's badge? Not only am I retired, even if I wasn't I would need the proper clearance. Besides, the plumber handles other worldly affairs. We only get involved if local creatures are hostile and conventional methods don't work. Anyway, we leave for daybreak tomorrow. I think the fish is about ready, Max stated as Gwen exited the rust bucket. Fish, huh? That's relatively normal, the redhead commented. And it'll go great with beetles and lamb intestines. Ugh. Gwen started to turn a bit green. Ben smirked. You should have known it was coming. I'll just wait until tonight. If Shaw's words earlier were any indication, maybe he won't mind a second hand. The moon hung high in the sky as its glow cast upon the forest/lake. Are you sure you can handle it, boy? Shaw asked as Ben nodded. I mean, will that fish form of yours hold up? If I minimize the times I change, I should be fine. Ben waited as Shaw continues to drive the boat. They stopped in the general area where Jonah was exploring earlier. Shaw suited up in his scuba gear on, and his harpoon gun. You ready, old man? I've been ready for years, kid. They both dove into the water. Bringing up the Omnitrix, Ben turned the dial until the silhouette of the aquatic alien appeared. He really should come up with a name for it. Slamming the dial, he transformed into the aquatic alien. Swimming down, the two came across the wreckage of several destroyed vessels. They came across some orange sphere which Shaw pointed out. The aquatic alien swam up to them and brushed up against them. Eggs? The government sanctioning the area? A creature attacking a vessel? I should have known something illegal was going on. Shaw poked Ben and motioned at a boat heading towards what looked like a stealth vessel. The two swam up to the surface. 6 men boarded the vessel wearing silver-colored suits and night visions goggles, a sharp contrast of Shaw's seaweed green suit. The 5 crewmates trained their pistols on the man. Ben watched as Shaw tried to confront the men, only for their leader to slug him in the stomach. The man removed his mask to reveal himself as Jonah. When Shaw played dumb about what he saw, he ordered his men to take the man so they could interrogate them. As for the eggs, they would come back for them later. Before they could make off with Shaw, Ben leapt onto the boat. Landing on the deck, his tail split and formed legs. What is that thing? It's a monster! What are you fools waiting for? Shoot it! Jonah ordered as Ben scooped up Shaw and went overboard. He roared as one of the bullets shot him into the arm. To his surprise, he was bleeding blue blood. You okay, old man? Ben asked as Shaw came to. What happened? They planned on kidnapping you. Our apparent friend with fish is a poke. Shaw's ship blew up as Jonah and his cronies drove away. But now I know why the Kraken seems so pissed. They have her eggs. Upon reaching the surface, Gwen and Max were woken up and explained the situation. Like before, some research was done on Gwen's laptops. Jonah Melville, age 28, has been charged of 12 counts of poaching and auctioning of endangered species. He was acquitted of all charges due to a lack of evidence. Anything else is just a bunch of regurgitated facts. Gwen stated. Then it looks like it's time to do some hunting of our own. We'll use my rowboat. Shaw volunteered. Arriving on the wharf, the group piled into the wharf. Soon enough they arrived to a cannery. You keep them busy while we'll find the EG. Before Max could finish, a roar echoed throughout the area as a slight tremor shook the cannery. Looks like the Kraken is going to beat us to the punch. Skimming up the ladder, the group of 4 was privy of the Kraken attacking the poachers. The Kraken shot forward and snatched up one of the firing poachers in its jaws. Some of them tripped over trying to run away, firing at the angry creatures with their laser weapons. Jonah, in a mini-sub with arms loaded up the eggs onto a boat. When the Kraken turned its attention to the poacher, he fired missiles at the creature that only seemed to enrage it further. Transforming into Ripjaws, Ben tackled the mini-sub, sending him into the water. "You fish freak bastard, I could say the samer. Let's see what these jaws of mine can do." "Jaws Ripjaws." "Meh, I could do worse." Dodging the strikes from the mini-sub, he promptly followed by using his powerful jaws. Ripjaws tore off one of the arms, only to receive an electric shock from the mini-sub. From the scuffle above, some of the Kraken eggs fell into the water. Jonah, thinking with his greed instead of intelligence, went for the eggs. Before he could reach the eggs, one of the Kraken's tentacles whipped down and sent him crashing down. The sub was cracked and Jonah bailed. Swimming out, he takes out the knife to stab the Kraken, but Ripjaws tackled him, causing him to drop his knife. Swimming up to the surface, Ripjaws unceremoniously tossed him above the deck. He was able to watch as Gwen and Max pushed the last of the eggs into the water. The Kraken claimed every one of its eggs and dove back under just as the police came. Just in time as the Omnitrix timed out, and he changed back to normal. The Kraken shouldn't be bothering people anymore, Ben stated as the police boarded the cannery. The poachers that survived the attack were being arrested. They may not be charged with poaching charges, but kidnapping and attempted murder would do just nicely. "You got that right, lad?" As Jonah was taken away, he declared, "I will have my revenge, kid." "Count on it." Ben rolled his eyes as if he didn't hear that cliché before. The two cousins waited patiently inside the ice cream shop, trying to see what flavor they wanted as Max was outside accessing the ATM outside. Not too far away, an old red, rusty-looking pickup truck pulled into a parking lot. The first of the two identified was a heavy-set man with a white tee hanging off his stomach with a stain and large red cap, while a lanky-looking man with a green cap stayed inside. "Do you have anything with no fat in it?" Gwen asked the board worker behind the counter. "Napkins," the board worker replied as he looked to Ben. "How about you?" He was looking at Ben. "I'll go with vanilla, please." "Alrighty then." Ben's ear twitched when he noticed the sound of a truck startup. "And here I thought I wouldn't have any fun today," the brunette thought with a mischievous smile. Slipping outside and out of sight, Ben activated his Omnitrix. Training over the past few days had led him to figure out that the alien he nicknamed Upgrade was his go-to aliens for anything electronic or vehicular. In a flash of green light, he became the galvanic mechamorph. A living being composed of self-replicating nanotechnology. The biggest limitation was that this alien couldn't merge with biological entities. It was a conundrum in itself that Ben could transform into this creature, but seeing as he kept his voice and the mental feedback was virtually non-existent like the other aliens, he came to the conclusion that this alien was incomplete in the sense of his situation. Merging with the truck, Upgrade began messing with the would-be car thieves. "What gives, Bob? The engine won't start," the lackey guy exclaimed as he continued his attempt to hot-fire it. "What the hell? Start, you stupid truck," the fat thief exclaimed as he slammed his foot in the pedal and kept on turning the key. "I'm afraid I can't do that, Bob." Upgrade spoke in a lifeless tone as his formed on the dashboard. His single circular green eye then honed on them menacingly as the doors flung open and the two thieves were hoisted outside. Upgrade then changed into the form of another alien. This one was tall, about 6 feet tall, and looked relatively humanoid instead of orange skin and 4 red glowing eyes. Instead of 5 fingers, this form had 3, sharp, claw-like, complete with a cat-like tail swaying behind him side to side. The alien's eyes glowed, along with the car thieves, who then lost consciousness. When it was done, Ben reverted back to his human form. "What did you do to them?" Gwen asked in a mixture of concern/confusion as she and Max walked up. "I wiped their memories of seeing me," Ben replied, taking the vanilla cone from Gwen. "A little, extreme, don't you think?" Max responded as Ben shrugged. "We've been lucky so far. One way or the other, the incidents could be explained away. Like those crazy poachers for the lake monster incident, or Animo for DC. If stuff keeps happening, eventually the general public will find out. Some sectors of the plumbers may have retired, but the branch under Magister Xena still works on covering incidents like this," Max began explaining as they made their way back to the rust bucket. "Magister?" Gwen spoke up as the term Magister was unfamiliar to her, a high-ranking plumber official. Each division had a specific purpose. Information gathering, search and recover, exposure control, combat. While most of the sectors have been decommissioned, the sector under Magister Xena still runs. Anyway, I'll call the police. So, where do we go from here? And Vera's house. Ben immediately stopped eating his ice cream. Then out of nowhere he cried out the big no. Nuh! He took off, every once in a while taking a lick from his already melting ice cream cone. Gwen sighed. I'll go get him. Sometime later the rust bucket was on its way to Vera's house with Ben tied up in a straitjacket. Oh, for heaven's sake, my reaction wasn't that bad? You guys can let me go. Though I should be asking why the hell Max just happened to have a straitjacket. Ben, will you chill? You're acting like you're 10. I feel 10. I'm being cruel and unusually unpunished. You're such a goof. Yeah, well, you're skinny. Not the good kind, the kind that you go on talk shows for and seek help for, Ben said with a satisfied smile. Hey! Gwen snapped, closing her book. You take that back, Ben. All because I'm actually concerned about what I eat instead of just stuffing food down my throat, Ben interrupted her. Okay, seriously, enough of the lectures. I wonder if you'll fall over if I blow at you. Maybe you'll take to the sky, skinny old girl. Gwen was about to retort, then stopped as a coy smile formed on her face. Oh! This can't be good. In case you've forgotten, you're the one in a straitjacket. Ben starting shuffling, trying to activate the Omnitrix. Let's see what this skinny old girl can do. Eep, we're here! Max declared after 4 hours of driving down the desert road, arriving at a small town. Hooray! Now can someone get me out of this jacket? Ben whined as he hopped to his feet. They exited the vehicle to be greeted by Aunt Vera. For all intent and purposes, and by extremely creepy comparison, she was a female version of Max. She had the same large build with a similar hairstyle, but she wore a purple dress and a pearl necklace. Oh! There's Ben! Hi! She got to pinch his cheeks. Oh! How come she never greets Gwen like that? Now I'll have no feeling in my cheeks for the rest of the day. The Tennysons soon entered the house. What have you all been doing this summer? Max, Gwen, and Ben respectively answered. Driving. Research. She was referring to looking up colleges, her future career, and stuff like that. Ensuring my mental stability. So is anyone going to take off this jacket or what? What's cooking tonight, huh, Vera? Max asked. You'll see when it's done. Vera replied. Gwen walked over to a statue of a red-colored bird. Is this a red-tailed swallow? Yes. And they have the highest-pitched mating call of all birds. Both Gwen and Vera do a bird screech. Ugh! Of all the families I could have picked, dinner turned out to be gelatin with pork chop bits and cauliflower. Ben immediately went about eating everything but the cauliflower, considering Ben had no idea what the hell it was. He knew what it was, but he didn't know what it was. Do you want candy, Ben? Vera spoke up, going through a candy jar. Oh yes, please, taking the piece of Tootsie Roll-looking candy. His eye twitched. Coffee flavor? That's a bit odd. I'll be, out to stretch my legs. Okay. Be back soon. Vera called out to Ben as he walked out of the door. Nothing uneventful seemed to happen. Not counting the old woman swatting a fly with proficiency and speed a woman her age shouldn't possess. He then stopped in front of a self-driving gold cart route and began looking around until he spots a golf cart. After accidentally running over 2 squirrels and a cat, Ben decided maybe it was a good idea to return home. Assuming the form of the ghost alien, he flew back towards the house and popped back in as Gwen was examining a seashell. What's up? Gwen cried out rather audibly as Max ran into the room. What's wrong? Ben's being in a himself, Gwen snapped, her face slightly red. She wasn't still quite used to her cousin being alien to transform into alien creatures. This sort of thing was supposed to only happen in sci-fi movies and such. No more than a week ago she would have dismissed anybody who told her such things were possible, but now, in a flash, Ghost Freak reverted back to Ben. I didn't mean to scare ya, Gwen, though. The redhead was still fuming. Well, can you two keep it quiet? Vera is trying to sleep. She's going to sleep already? Ben shook his head. I'll just head back outside. Be back before it gets too dark out, alright? Right. Ben walked out into the house and began looking around once more. It feels good to be. A scent filled the air, catching his attention. The entire area was filled with the same scent. It led him to a guy near a dumpster, one of the elderly populace wearing dirty and tattered clothing. "Yo, old goo!" The old man pushed the dumpster at Ben, who dodged out of the way. "Okay, maybe not an old man," Ben declared as he took out a hunting knife and threw it at the other man, only to twist his body in an inhuman twist to avoid it. As he got right side up, Ben changed into Inferno and fired a burst of flame at the old man. It connected, but instead burning, the figure began to change in shape. It formed into a brown/green semi-humanoid blob. What in the world? The green/brown ooze spilled onto the ground as it began to reform. Physical attacks, fire, cutting it didn't do a thing to it. "I better retreat," Ben thought as he changed forms only to get upgrade. Ever since he added the 2 DNA signatures from the lake incident, there was a slight randomness added to the factor. It seemed unless he focused with complete clarity, the watch didn't react to his desired choice. Since upgrade wasn't a combat-type alien like the others, he had no choice but to retreat. So merging with a nearby golf cart, which the community seemed to have a lot of, he took off. Going at speeds exceeding twice that of the average golf cart, the aliens seemed to be able to keep up. Eventually he decided to cut through one of the lawns, where at that moment the sprinkler system came on. At that moment the alien pursuer freaked and retreated. Shifting back into Ben, he burst into Vera's home. "There you are, where have you been?" Gwen asked as she exited the kitchen. "Old guy, dumpster super strength sprinkler system sent him running," Ben panted out as he whipped his brow. Using new forms, he wasn't too costumed to seem to burn out his energy. This tech definitely didn't belong in the hands of just anybody. "Hey Grandpa, I think Ben's suffering from a heat stroke." "I'm telling you." Then he shifted into some brown ooze creature. "Did he happen to regenerate at any point?" Max spoke up. "You actually believe him?" "Okay, I'll admit the last few days odd things have been happening, but what are the odds, Gwen?" "Let them finish. Physical attacks, fire and earth, even slicing him didn't work. And obviously whatever it was can shift different forms. Were there any others showing weird activity?" Max began interrogating, wondering if it was those creatures. "I saw an 80 woman swat a fly without having to look at it. That could mean only one thing, Limax," he concluded, recalling the race of creatures he fought once. "What are Limax?" Gwen asked her grandfather. "Limax are a parasitic slime species that thrive in warm temperatures and can't stand the cold. An environment like the desert would be the perfect breeding grounds for them. They tend to pose as the elderly. I'll do a sweep outside the community to see if any of them are skulking around." Ben shared a look with Gwen. "Then we can check all the houses to see if anyone. We'll check the neighbors' houses to see if any more of them are masquerading." "Right, be careful." The search proved to be fruitless. Nothing was found, and nightfall soon came, so the trio returned home. Morning came and the 2 teens were in the kitchen. "I don't like this at all. Not a trace of anything. I know this is a small community, but people don't just up and vanish. You want to make another round? Well, probably won't find anything. The scent of those creatures is everywhere, so I don't even know where to begin." And Vera entered the kitchen. "Morning, kids. How are you today?" "Fine. Where's the old man?" "Max is usually up at this time. He's out on a walk. I found some coffee for you." Gwen started only to drop it, and as a result Vera did the full splits right over it. "Clean this up. Now!" Vera practically roared in an uncharacteristic bark out, causing Gwen to recoil at the sudden behavioral change. "Okay, Aunt Vera. Sorry." Gwen apologized as Vera hastily exited. "That definitely wasn't Aunt Vera. Do you think they might have gotten Grandpa Max as well?" "Only one way to find out." Ben, assuming the form of insected, stink fly, and Gwen landed where Ben encountered the Limax. The same one from yesterday was there and seemed to be on guard. Spitting out some of the mucus the Limax's leaves was liquefied. Dropping down to the ground, Insected began integrating the alien. "You have 30 seconds to reveal where the humans are or your head is next." "They're under the dumpster. It's a secret passageway," the Limax cried out. "Wow, that was easier than I think it would be." Most often become cowards at the thought of embracing death. Insected used one of its claw-like fingers to slash the creature, then dabbed the ooze onto the Omnitrix. "What are you doing, Ben?" "We don't have time." "Patience, Gwen, I am collecting a DNA sample." "Sample? I can add samples and acquire new forms." "Now let's head out." Gwen and Insected pushed up against the dumpster, slowly moving it out of the way to reveal a passage. They traveled down below through a cavern that twisted and turned in a series of paths. After a few minutes of travel, they came across an army-sized gathering of disguised Limax. "Gwen, thank you." She threw coffee on him, and he melted. "We found Grandpa Max, and we knew it was a Limax, so I went for arms to fight him instead. He had tracked us down after we interrogated the other Limax, and he had a whole army with him. There's the kids after them," the Max Limax declared. Insected let loose several spurts of mucus, causing the initial assault to be liquefied. Taking up to the sky, Insected kept on firing at the Limax, who were taking cover behind some rock formations. "Ben! We have to find the adults," Gwen declared, one arm hanging onto the alien and the other pinching her nose so she would vomit from the alien's smell. "Right, hang on." The flapping wings began to beat even faster as Insected soared down to the ground and barreled through the ooze like aliens. They went deeper into the caverns until they came across a ship. Conveniently enough, the hatch was open so they were able to get inside. "Free the adults. I'll keep our friends busy," Insectoid stated as Gwen nodded and went deeper into the ship. Dozens of the Limax, now armed, trained their weapons on Insected. "No! They found our ship. What do we do? They have been marinating in those pods for long enough. We can leave. Now burn that bug before he pulls off any more tricks." Insect took to the sky as bursts of flames radiated from the Limax's weapon. 2 Limaxes appeared from the back armed with tech that looked like the equivalent to a grenade launcher, and fired. One of the explosives rounds enveloped and burned off half of Insected's wing, causing him to hiss in pain and fall towards the ground. "Omnitrix, if you can hear me. I need some help." Defense Protocol X7 activated. Temporary activation of the Necrophrygian sample engaged. Insectoid was engulfed in a bright blue light as the Limaxes once more fired their weapons at the falling insect. "That takes care of that human. Terminate the girl," the former Vera impersonating Limax ordered as the fallen figure began to stand. The creature was moth-like with a black body with ice blue and white spots on his legs and arms resembling ice chunks, and a light blue torso with green eyes. Enshrouding his body was a cloak of some sorts, giving him the appearance of a phantom. The mystery alien held up his hands, 8 digits for each and 4 for his toes, or 6 if the back ones were counted. "A Necrophrygian!" one of the Limaxes cried out in fright. With a wave of his hand, the Necrophrygian released a burst of ice, freezing one of the Limaxes. Unexpected but not unwanted. He then took to the sky as he sprouted wings. The Limaxes began to retreat, only for the Necrophrygian to release bursts of ice, one after the other, freezing them by the handful until they were all ooze sickles. The Necrophrygian looked around for something he could use and spotted a water pipe. Punching the pipe and ripping at his hand, water was released as it began to fill the cave floor. Landing on the rock, a burst of green light filled the cavern as Ben stood there once more. Defense protocol measures completed. Sample Necrophrygian has once more been locked up. Damn. Oh well, easy come easy go. Later that day, in Vera's front yard, all the citizens of the little town assumed what they experienced were some sort of mass group nightmare, or something or another. It was very convenient, but not unwanted. Vera then replies, "I'm sorry you have to leave so soon," and Ben, "I'm sorry if I bored you too much. It wasn't all bad. I got out and learned some things. See you another time, Vera," Max said as he hugged his sister goodbye. "So Mr. Hero," Gwen started. "What's next on the list? Slay a vampire? Capture Bigfoot?" Despite the tone, the smile on Gwen's face showed she was just teasing. "I'm thinking more along the lines of seducing a wood nymph," Ben replied with a smirk. "Ugh," Gwen rolled her eyes. "You're such a perv, I swear," the redhead murmured as she entered the rust bucket. "You can't honestly say you're that surprised," Ben called after her as he followed suit. Hopefully maybe tomorrow they might be able to relax for a change. In a region of space, a large battleship traveled through the empty expanse filled with stars, planets, and the other objects that filled the void in space. On the ship, 3 figures had gathered in a room, waiting for something. "Begin the test," a voice ordered over the megaphone as several red drones were released from the hatches. The first of the 3 armor figures to move was the one in violet. He activated his rocket pack and took to the air. Using his targeting system, he locked onto several of the drones and fired missiles that on contact obliterating the machines. The next of the figures wasn't humanoid like the other 2, in yellow armor, and whose body's shape was more like a crab. He jumped down from his platform and fired shots from his pincher-shaped arm, nailing accurate shots in the drone brains, causing them to collapse and short-circuit, following with exploding. The last of the drones walked over the burnt and smoking pile of its predecessors. Several times larger than the other crabs, this beast was ready to terminate anything in sight. Though it was unprepared for the last of the figures, this one in black armor, whose transportation was overboard to soar forward and ends its short life with a single punch that shredded its central processing unit. The face of their would-be employer appeared on the screen. Excellent. It appears the reputation for you three hunters proceed you. I have a special task in mind for the three of you. This is your target. The face of the employer was replaced by a picture of the Omnitrix. Whoever brings it back will receive my reward, and the reward will be mine, spoke the crab hunter. Rotebfra. The violet one retorted, while the last of them remained silent. On Earth with the Omnitrix, Ben and Gwen once more found themselves having to deal with their grandfather's weird culinary tastes. What is this? Gwen asked upon seeing the green slug, as she couldn't help but ask, her mind not wanting to comprehend yet another of her grandfather's strange recipes. Spulgo gratin, Max proudly stated. Gwen gently poked her slug, which let out a loud scream, causing the redhead to jump and hit the table. Is this thing alive? Gwen couldn't help but cry out. She wasn't squeamish per se, but if there ever was a limit to eating anything Max made, then alive was definitely. Define alive? Ben asked, snickering at the situation before him. That's just the air escaping, Max said as Ben's snickering evolved into laughter. The redhead frowned in annoyance and pushed her plate to Ben. I'm not really all that hungry, Gwen remarked, holding her stomach, excused herself and stumbled outside for some fresh air. I think I'm going to walk for a walk, Ben informed Max, who nodded. He was probably just going to fix a sandwich or something later. It seemed the evening of the area would soon be turning into nightfall. I wonder where Gwen is? Though Ben's thoughts were interrupted when he caught the sound of something unusual. Whatever it was coming closer. He followed the origin of the noise until he came across the four-legged figure. Who's there? Ben went to take a closer look. Either you can come out or I'll flush you out. My sensors can pick up your heartbeat. Heartbeat, huh? That could be problematic. I'll have to go with something without a heartbeat. Ben turned the dial to Spectre, Ghost Freak, and transformed. So what are you supposed to be? A science fair project gone wrong? Spectre asked as he rose from the ground. The machine turned to face the voice, but Spectre went intangible and moved to the other side of him, avoiding laser fire. It seems I found you. Omnitrix wielder. Spectre was blasted by some sort of solution, forcing him to become solid and visible. What? I'm not intangible anymore? What gives? Your protoplasmic form won't help you here. Still won't stop me from kicking your butt, Ben said as he switched to Diamond Head, forming two sharp blades. Diamond charged the hunter, whom used his legs to jump out of the way and return fire. Diamond Head took the blast head on and was unfazed. What's wrong? Your toy's not working this time around. Petrosapiens have always proved an annoying enemy to face on the battlefield. But I simply just have to wait for the Omnitrix to time out. Oh, he's right. I have to take him out before the Omnitrix times out. Ben's thoughts were interrupted when the rust bucket came out of nowhere and barreled over the machine. Grandpa Max? Trouble, your friend there isn't the only one to have shown up. We should leave for now and regroup. Diamond Head reluctantly nodded as he entered the RV. Just as they were picking up speed, laser fire rained down upon them. Great Flyboy is back, Gwen stated as she looked out the window, catching sight of the purple armored flyer. And we're not that far from the exit of the woods. Diamond Head went to the window and took aim. He fired several shards at their pursuer, who returned fire of his own, only for one of the shards to nail his jetpack, causing him to crash to the ground. That should take care of. A few yards ahead, the first hunter sprouted from the ground and used his laser to hit one of the RV's wheel. It spun out of control and crashed against the wall, causing everyone to lose their balance and fall to the floor, along with the various other foods and items from the cupboards and drawers of the RV. Everyone okay? Gwen asked with a groan as she massaged her elbow. I'm okay. Oh, I'll be good. As soon as I put those jerks down, Diamond Head stated as he slammed open the door. I see we've got your attention, the alien hunter from before remarked. The purple guy landed right next to him. Trevhihgfohbokh. You guys wanted my attention? Now you got it. Diamond Head charged forward. The purple hunter took to the air and started firing blasts from his laser cannon. Using his arms as a shield, the blasts reflected off his arms and struck him. The crab hunter attempted to catch Diamond Head by the throat, but the diamond alien twisted out of the way and caught the claw under his arm. The purple hunter recovered and began firing missiles, at which Diamond Head used his strength to move the yellow hunter into the way, causing both the crab hunter's systems to suffer some damage and his armor to be cracked. You blithering simpleton. Watch where you fire before I consider making your head my next trophy. Zedidio! The alien retorted as he fired again. Letting go and dodging another attack from the pincher, Diamond Head grabbed one of missiles and prepared to hurl it back at the alien, only for him, the hunter, to press a button on the gauntlet on the wrist, causing it to explode. Momentarily stunned by the explosion, the yellow hunter took advantage of the situation and slammed Diamond Head into ground. Alright, now let's see how you like being thrown around. Ben made a switch to the crimson four-arm alien and slammed its powerful knuckles into the crab hunter, sending him reeling back several hundred feet. He then ducked and dodged the blasts from the violet hunter and picked up several rocks, hurling them at around 40 mph. The hunter was able to dodge the first three, but the last one clipped his fuel supply. Crying out something untranslatable, he took, along with the yellow one, that began to retreat underground. Before they could be pursued, smoke bombs ignited around the red bruiser, causing him to drop to unconsciousness. When Ben came to, he found himself in an empty warehouse. Standing opposite of him was another hunter, but in black armor. Oh, come on! Another one of you, Ben snarled as he readied the Omnitrix. I'll give you a suggestion, kid. Turn into a Petrosapien. I'm really supposed to take the suggestion of one of the people who's most likely hunting me? Just do it. Fine. Quickly reaching his threshold for annoyance, Ben transformed. Readying his hands into blades, he charged the black hunter, only for him to sidestep the diamond alien and kick him aside. Ah crap, alright then, take this. The shards fired bounced off his armor. Show me some real power, kid. You want some power, then take this. Diamond Head slammed his fist into the ground as a pathway of diamonds quickly materialized the ground and shot towards the hunter. The hunter, moving with speeds that exceeded the others, dodged the pathway and jumped over, attempting to kick the Diamond Head, only for him to bring his arms together and form a shield. You seem to know more than I expected. Though you far from mastered the potential of the form you're using, I'll guess I'll have to kick it up a notch. Diamond Head replied with a smirk as he jumped back and fired some shards. The hunter knocked them away with a sweep of his arm, though Ben's attack wasn't finished yet, as he placed his hand against the path of crystal, which several spheres shot forward and aimed to disable the black hunter's movements by crystallizing his legs in place, only for him to easily jump out of the way. Diamond Head charged forward, his arms into blade, only for his opponent to slam his fist into the ground, resulting in 5 columns of diamond to sprout out and enclosed on him like a hand, trapping him in place. Aw crud! Let me go! Like I said, you still have much to learn, the hunter remarked as she opened his helmet to show that they were of the same species. We're the same species. You are better than I figured you would be, but you still have a long way to go. Diamond Head reverted back into Ben. I'm Ben Tennyson. Who are you? I am called Tetrax. You seem to have a decent understanding of the basic functions of the Omnitrix. Considering you're a child in the eyes of your society, that is impressive. During your fight with Krob and 6-6, I expected you to overwhelm them with muscle. Yeah, thanks. Ben remarked, feeling a bit embarrassed, as that would have been his game plan if it hadn't been for Max lecturing him about being responsible with such a dangerous weapon and reminding him that anyone coming after them could having abilities that would make brute force useless. So you're not with those other guys? Why are you here? I need to take these 2 bounty hunters into custody. I also came here to retrieve the Omnitrix, but I believe it's in safe hands for the time being. While Tetrax was hesitant to leave the Omnitrix in the hands of an adolescent, he had other duties to take care of, and with the Omnitrix's current location known to few who was searching for its location, it seemed safer to leave it here than to take it hot spots and risking it getting into the hands of someone else. My thing is, how did something like the Omnitrix happen to appear on Earth? Though before the Ben could get his answers, the 2 hunters showed up, with Gwen and Max in tow as hostages. Any ideas, Tetrax? You'll have to play it smart. 6-6 is holding your companions hostage. One flash move could cost them their lives. Turn yourself in, and we can just leave this planet in peace. Understand? Or these two pay the price. Don't worry about us, Ben. Just do it. Do something. Play it smart, huh? That I can do. Ben held out his hands and stepped forward. Ben! No, that's it, 6-6. The violet alien dropped them and took out a blade, prepared to chop off Ben's hand to retrieve the Omnitrix. A smirk appeared on the brunette's head. You boys seem proud of your tech. Let's see how you do without it. At that moment Ben transformed into gray matter and jumped onto the alien. Graft outfit Sab. He flailed around, taking to the sky, trying to shake off the miniature alien who climbed up to his jet pack and began to disable it. After a few moments the tiny alien jumped down as the jet pack ignited, sending the hunter crashing into the ground with burns. Tetrax took the opportunity to quickly raid the fallen hunter's weaponry and fired upon Krob, causing him to flail back against the blasts. Tetrax then took out some sort of grenade and threw it at Krob, radiated a swirl of violently energy that reacted as an electric shock, disabling the hunter and knocking him unconscious. How was that? Ben asked as he reverted to normal. You assessed the situation and reacted accordingly with intelligence instead of brawn. I'm impressed. Tetrax used a cube on Krob and 6-6. It enveloped them and shrunk down to the size of a small rodent. Then they were transported to inside the cube. Now he was definitely sure the Omnitrix was in the right hands. I'll be going now. Wait. Are there others like you? Who could know and teach me more about the aliens and the Omnitrix? Even Ben thought it was a bit irresponsible not to tell him a bit more about the device. I unfortunately have other matters to attend to. I'll put in some calls and let my allies know the Omnitrix has been located and is in good hands. But unfortunately, because of all the conflicts breaking out, and interests the Omnitrix hold, most of them will probably have their hands full trying to prevent threats like 6-6 and Crab from arriving on Earth to come after it. But we will meet again. Wait! Gwen called out. Yes? Thank you, mister. Please, just Tetrax. No thanks are necessary. I bid you all farewell, the Petrosapien said. He handed Ben his hoverboard. He pressed the teleportation sequence on his suit and phased out of there. Great, Ben said with a sigh as he folded his arms. That only brings up more questions than answers. I hope he's right about us meeting again. Thanks for watching this video. You really enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow QB16 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.